Hey, welcome to Live from Dennis's House. Now we're going to do our Celebrity Summer Series, and calling in today is the great Felix Cavaliere of the band The Rascals. Let's hear it for Felix. Now, the Rascals were one of the biggest, actually, I'm saying they were the biggest American band of the mid-'60s. Yes. Between 66 or 65 and 68, they had 9 top 20 hits, including 3 number 1 hits.
Wow. Okay,
yes.
That's huge.
I always remember loving the Rascals and feeling like, they were a neighborhood band, that they were so New York to me.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing like these movies that they would make from the songs, like the first videos, and seeing them in Central Park and rowing in the river and stuff. And it's just like, it felt like to me that, they were like my brother's older friends, that they were just hanging around the neighborhood and stuff. And the songs were so good. And the band consisted of Eddie Brigati on vocals, of course, Felix Cavaliere on keyboard and vocals, Gene Cornish on guitar, and Dino Danelli on drums. It's Good Lovin', You Better Run. You know who that was covered by?
Yes.
1980?
I do.
Pat Benatar. Come On Up. I've Been Lonely Too Long. What an amazing song that is. Groovin'. How Can I Be Sure? Which, you know who does a great cover of that? David Cassidy does an amazing cover of How Can I Be Sure? Yes.
Okay.
A Girl Like You, It's Wonderful, A Beautiful Morning, and their last number 1 hit, People Got to Be Free.
Oh, that's my favorite.
Yes, that was a great song.
That's my favorite.
We're going to switch to our interview now with Felix Cavaliere. Very honored to have Felix. Big fan of them.
Yes.
And then we'll come back and we'll recap the conversation and talk about the concert and all that kind of stuff. So we'll be right back. Don't touch that dial. Right. So we now have on the phone with us the great singer, songwriter, producer, and Hammond organ player, Felix Cavaliere. Now I want to congratulate you, Felix, on your illustrious career. 50 years in the business. And you're currently touring, and I had the pleasure to see you the other night at the Count Basie Theater in Red Bank, New Jersey, and it was an amazing concert. It was hit after hit. Your voice was as strong as ever. Now, you look like you're having a lot of fun out there, so do you still you still enjoy performing?
Oh, absolutely. I've got a band nowadays from Nashville because that's where I live these days. And these guys, they're just so much fun to play with. They love to play it. I love to play it. So it comes out that everybody has a good time,
Yeah, it was a great time. I could see it. The crowd was up and dancing. It was a great night.
Fantastic.
Now,
thank you, man. It's always fun working in the East Coast, too.
Yeah. Now, I've always wondered this about celebrities. How do you personally feel when people are gushing all over you? Because I'm sure, every day, people are coming up to you, telling you how great you are and stuff like that. Now, how do you handle it?
Well, a lot of the people, they are so genuinely, sincerely, how should I put it? The thing is that we grew up together musically, in other words, our music was part of their lives. And some of the people are really, really affected by it in amazingly kind of deep ways. Those are the stories that kind of, I'll give you a quick example. I was in Albany a few years back, and there's a guy hanging out, it was an outdoor concert, a guy's hanging out backstage. He says, "Can I talk to you, man?" I said, "Yeah." So he says, "I want you to have these." He gave me his dog tags, He was an ex-Vietnam vet. And I said, "Man, what's this about?" And he says, "Well, you know what, man? You saved my life." I said, "What are you talking about?" He says, "I was on one of those recovery boats that went up the Mekong Delta to pick up the wounded. And I saw that you guys were going to be on the TV show called Hullabaloo. And we got a feed from that in Vietnam. So I didn't take that boat. And I went and watched the show, and that boat was destroyed by an enemy fire."
Oh,
so
man.
Stuff like that happens, and you say, "Oh, my God, are you kidding me, man?" I mean, wow. So, it's a little different from, Beatlemania,
Right.
It's really interesting how, you just, being in people's lives, let's put it like that.
Yeah. You had a huge impact on everyone. Now, the Rascals are from the New York, New Jersey area, and you are personally from New York. So I heard that you were studying pre-med at Syracuse University, and that Lou Reed was a fellow student. Was that true? And did you guys know each other?
Yeah, we were in the same. I think year, if I'm not mistaken. But I know we were in the same school because yes. And again, like I started off there pre-med and started a band, and I don't know. I think he was in journalism or something like that, and or English. And he also started a band up there, as far as I remember. Syracuse has been a really great kind of like base for a lot of people that I know. There's TV people and movie people and sportscasters and musicians. It's a very interesting school.
Yeah. So now, have you ever thought about going back to become a doctor now or anything like that?
Well, no. Especially since, my goodness, the profession's changed so much. I have relatives of mine that are doctors, and they can't wait to get out.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So, yeah. I think you made the right choice. So about your illustrious career now. You're basically in every Hall of Fame. You're in the Rock Hall of Fame, Songwriters Hall of Fame, Grammy Hall of Fame. I think you're even in the Baseball and Football Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I wish. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Hammond, Oregon just started a Hall of Fame about 2 years ago, and I'm in that one. And,
right, I saw that too.
The Songwriters Hall of Fame, especially, is a real pleasure for me. I really appreciate that one, because most people don't even know who writes songs,
Right.
And the group there is pretty select and pretty elite. That's a joy. Well, basically, I was a pianist. I was a classical pianist at that time. I was a young kid then who, had been studying classical for like 8 years. And I got introduced to kind of like to modern pop music through a friend of mine, which I'd never even heard of rock and roll. And I was invited to this club by him one night. We went into this club in New York. And I heard an organ trio. And I had never heard anybody play anything like that on any instrument because I was pretty much I was a suburban kid. Well, it just blew my mind. It was a trio. It was called the Mighty Cravers, and it was an organ, and the fellow was playing bass with his foot. He was playing keyboards with his right hand. He was singing. They had a drummer and a sax player. It sounded like an organ. So it kind of like inspired me to say, well, man, I got to check that out. I had never seen a Hammond organ, and it started me on a kind of a quest to find out what this was all about. And through the in those days I had to go down to New York to Macy's to find it. But it was really interesting because like I say, when you get kind of like inspired like that, we call it like an epiphany, I guess. I never seen or heard anything like it. It blew my mind.
So now you said you went to Macy's to buy your first Hammond?
Not to buy. I couldn't afford it.
Oh.
Just to see it.
To
see it. I mean, I was a kid now. I was about 15, 16 years old. Those things at that time, started just the organ itself at $3,000, And plus, it was big, heavy piece of equipment.
Right. That's what I was going to ask. Like, when you were just starting out, if you were playing that, how would you lug that around the gigs?
We weren't. So basically, as I said, as I went to school in Syracuse, I was still playing piano in school, even though I had seen the Hammond, And then I was able to get a smaller version, which is called an L or an M, which is at least reasonably able to carry, reasonably, because we would put a trailer together and, schlep it onto the trailer, take it to the shows.
After Good Lovin' hit, the Rascals were the biggest American band in the 60s. And were you able to enjoy this time, or was it such a whirlwind that it just like sped right past you?
No, I enjoyed it immensely. I mean, it's hard to even describe the joy of making a song, writing a song, going into the studio, recording a song, taking the song on the road in a show, having the audience accept it. I mean, it was unbelievable. Plus the people who I was making music with, the band. I thought I really had a great band there, and the people that I was working with at Atlantic Records to produce the music with me and help to make the music were the best in the world. far as I was concerned. So it was like nothing but a joy. I mean, really, unfortunately, you know, like as life would have it, internally there was some turmoil going on, but externally, I mean, my God, are you kidding? It was like a dream come true.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
That's the hardest thing of a band. It's like having a marriage with 4 people, right? It's very hard to keep up.
Yeah, it is, and you know, it's just a shame because you know, the success rate was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And, you know, like we were able to travel, you know, to Hawaii. I mean, we were able to see, you know, like, of course, the entire United States. We saw Europe. You know, I mean, how could you complain about that?
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely. So, like, what was your one gig or TV show? Because you did every TV show, I'm sure, played all over. What was, like, the one gig or TV show that you remember enjoying the most?
Well, you know, there's so many of them, seriously.
Right.
But I think that one of them that really stands out is after Martin Luther King was assassinated, the Atlantic people put on a big show at Madison Square Garden. And we had, let me see, I think we had Aretha Franklin, we had Sam and Dave, Sonny and Cher, Rascals. It was a heck of a night I'll never forget. You know, and it was one of the last times that I saw Jimi Hendrix, you know, who was, you know, a friend, alive. And, you know, that one sticks out. And as I say, you know, there's a lot of those moments that really kind of like are memorable, you know, and because of like, you know, places like, you know, like we worked the Hollywood Bowl out there in L.A. I mean, we had a lot of fun.
I'm sure. So now, what was like one of your heroes or icons that you actually met during this time that you were most impressed with?
Well, actually, I met him after the Rascals broke up, and I was a solo artist. It was Ray Charles.
Oh.
I did the Joan Rivers TV show, and he was a guest on the show as well. And that was, I think he was the first real, how should I put it, idol that I really kind of like emulated myself after. Because when I first heard him as a keyboard player and as a, you know, proposed singer, writer, arranger, I was kind of blown away by this man's talent.
Where were you when the Woodstock concert took place? Were you in the New York area? Were you there?
No. Our manager made a decision. He didn't think we should do it. Yeah, and you know, that's why you have good managers and bad managers. He didn't think we should do it. I think, I'm not sure what he was thinking. I think perhaps he was trying to protect us from the turmoil that was up there in the mud and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, it was a bad decision. But you know, no one really knew.
Yeah, you couldn't know.
You know, but still, that's where we were. We didn't do it. You know, and you know, it's just a bad decision. It's one of those decisions that, you know, like you come back to haunt you in the new days.
So now also you are a producer as well. And one thing I found interesting, you produced Laura Nyro, and I'm very fascinated with her. And that I realized I've never actually heard her speak. I've never seen an interview or anything with her. But like, can you tell us about those sessions, what that was like?
Yeah. Laura Nyro was probably the purest artist that I've ever met. And by that I mean that, you know, a lot of people, a friend of mine wrote a song called It's Not the Money, It's the Money, you know. And Laura really never had the slightest inkling of money in terms of her product. It was art with a capital A. Yeah. She was the purest artist I've ever met. Music that she created was the only thing that she was interested in as far as, like, you know, this business was concerned. She could not care less about anything else. And that was unique because, you know, if you look at her career, basically what she did is she wrote these #1 records that were never #1 with her singing because she wanted to make them arty. Other people came along, such as Fifth Dimension, such as Three Dog Night, such as Big Blood, Sweat, and Tears, and the next thing you know, it's a #1 record. because they took out those little artful kind of like digressions that the
Right.
radio is not going to play, and they had number one record. So she was a unique person, really unique.
Yeah. So now,
Hold on just 1 second. Let me just grab this. 1 second.
sure.
1 second. Hello? I missed it. Hello? Hey, man. Same to you. How are you? Good? I'm just doing an interview. Can I call you back about 10? Great. Will do. All right. Gotcha.
Was that Don Kirshner
Well-
calling?
Excuse me?
Was that Don Kirshner on the phone?
No, that's a friend of mine. Yeah, it's really interesting. He's an Israeli friend, and every Friday we call up and say Shabbat Shalom. It's really nice. Absolutely. Yeah, he's a good man too.
That's funny.
Every Friday since I've met him, which was 10, 15 years ago. So.
So now
Yeah.
you live in Nashville now. So now, what made you decide to make that move?
Well, I came down here on business, and I found an extremely kind of friendly music environment. And I had lived previous to this. I was in Danbury, Connecticut, and I was kind of bored up there, quite frankly, because there were not a lot of musicians up there. There were not a lot of songwriters up there. There was, it was mostly executives, people who were in businesses, and lawyers, real estate people. And I came down here, it was exactly the opposite. There was a humongous amount of people who were either in the music business or wanted to be in the music business. And lo and behold, it looks like this is the Mecca right now for songwriters, So that's why I came here. I wanted to continue, my creative part of the industry, the writing and the producing, rather than, like to just go out on the road,
Right. So now, have you been writing and recording? Can we expect new music, new CD or anything soon?
Well, I've been down here for quite a while, so I have to say yes. It's just a question of fitting into what's going on down here, because more and more it's becoming really countrified in terms of the music, because country music is doing so well. But when I first got here, I was kind of hoping that the industry was going to change a little bit and was going to become more pop-oriented down here. But anyway, the writing takes place here. The recording takes place down here. As a result, the musicianship down here is phenomenal. They've come from all over the country, to do sessions, So we've got a really good, how should I put it, group of people who make records that are phenomenal.
Right. You know what would be a good idea, I think? Like Ray Charles did that country album. I think you should do that same kind of thing. I would buy that in a second.
It's so interesting that you say that, because my guitar player has said the exact same thing, man. Isn't that interesting? I'm going to tell him that. Yeah, he said the same thing, although I'll tell you something. That's going to be a hard one to reproduce, because, man, that was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Just phenomenal.
But I think you could do it. You got an amazing, soulful voice, man. There. So,
yeah, well, I'll tell you, that's really, really interesting. I'm going to remember that. That was a milestone, that album. Really, really changed a lot of things,
Absolutely. So now, I understand that you were confused back in the day, that before people knew who you were so much, that everybody assumed you were a black band. That must have been amusing for you.
Well, the best story I can tell you about that one is, of course, we were very proud of that, because we were the first white band on Atlantic Records.
Right.
But on Atlantic Records, in those days, they didn't have these big signs all over the place, recording stay out, because they weren't embarrassed by, the fact that you were tuning somebody up in the room,
Right.
So one day Otis Redding stuck his head in the door. And, he was a real character, He said, "My God, they are white." Yeah. Because,
awesome.
I equate that. I really do. Even though I live in Nashville, everybody knows, they can tell by my accent I'm from New York,
Yeah.
And it's the same thing I feel with music, even though you think you're playing something that's like in the kind of pop world, but it comes out in the R&B or soulful world because of your accent, because of your style. It is not an intentional thing, and it's kind of funny to me because that's what comes out,
Yeah. So now I heard that you are working on your memoirs too. Are we looking forward to a book coming out soon?
Yeah, this will be like the third or fourth attempt I've made to write it down. It's kind of difficult, for me to kind of talk about yourself. But you just wonder, first of all, if people are going to be interested. But
oh, definitely.
I find that a lot of people are interested in a person's story because it's another story they can put on their. How should I put it? List of, well, I can do it too,
Right. I'm sure you've had a lot of interesting things happening now. So tell us one shocking thing that nobody knows about Felix Cavaliere and the Rascals that will sell this book.
Oh, wow. Shocking,
do you have any kiss and tell? Did you date like Liz Taylor back in the day or anything like that?
Oh, we met everyone. I mean, like I say, we had a great, especially like the first time the band goes to Hollywood, goes out to California, it's always like, oh my God, is this amazing or what? Because you get to meet like people that, are movie stars and, actors, you meet like very, very strange. Like recently, like in New York City, we have Bill O'Reilly coming to our concert.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, who would think this guy's a huge music lover? He loves music. So, politics aside, I hate to ruin his image, but he's really a nice man. He really is. He's a really, really nice gentleman, man. And, like I say, politics aside, he loves music. So you meet people like that. I met Robert Redford over the years.
Wow.
All these people we meet that, you put them in your memoirs and you say, holy God, Sammy Davis Jr., what a mensch, what a great dude, Guys like that. And then, of course, there's always people that, like, the worst ones are the comedians, Comedians that you love and you laugh at all the time that can be real nasty son of a guns, man,
Wow.
That kind of blows your mind. But through the years, having met so many of these people, it's pretty interesting that, in the long run, they're just people.
Yeah. And like you said about Bill O'Reilly, that's the beauty of music, and especially your music, the good feel-good music. It transcends everything. It brings everybody together just to have fun and enjoy the music.
Yeah, I think that's really a good way of putting it too. Because I mean, enough with all this nonsense. The music kind of transcends all this crap. Especially like I'm away to Japan this summer too. And we just have it's amazing. One of the fans, the last time I was there, this guy was so friggin' excited because, fortunately my guys, the Rascals, did not want to go to Japan. I guess they didn't like the flying, with all due respect, they were afraid to fly. Two of them at least were, they gave me a lot of trouble when we tried to go someplace internationally. But anyway, long story short, I went over there a couple of times. I went over there with Ringo Starr's all-star band, and I went over there twice by myself, and I'm going again. But I remember this one young Japanese guy come to me. He was so friggin' excited. He said, I want to be your son. Which I'm not sure what he was trying to say, but that's what came out in English. It was really cool.
So, all right.
How
so
cool.
That's an awesome story. I love talking to you. Thank you for talking to me. It was a great time. And anyone out there, any opportunity to go see Felix, do it. You will not be disappointed. It was an awesome time. And I'm sure, as you mentioned, you're going to be continuing on your tour now.
Yes.
And
thank you for the wonderful compliments and the opportunity to speak to your audience there.
Yes, thank you. And I will look forward to that book and the country album. I'm going to be waiting for that. You don't even have to give me a credit.
Cool,
just
man.
put it out.
I'm going to tell my people that. I appreciate it. You take care of yourself, man.
All right. Thanks, Felix. Have a good day.
All right.
All right.
You too.
Hey, welcome back live from Dennis's house. And that was our interview with the great, legendary Felix Cavaliere. And it was a great honor to talk with him. Very engaging guy. It was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Found out a lot of things. That story that he told about the Vietnam vet saying his music saved his life.
Yes.
So that was pretty awesome.
Yes.
Yes, and the hysterical story where Otis Redding stuck his head into the
I love
studio and said, "Oh my God, you guys are white," because they were the first band with the blue-eyed soul sound, because they did sound black, and that was the thing about their music. It was really good, fun time music at that time. People were still innocent, and it wasn't angry and dark or anything. It was just like fun, feel-good music.
It was Atlanta Records, right?
Atlantic, yes.
Atlantic, and mostly they had
Yeah, I guess, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Not this kind of band.
So Felix liked my idea about because his favorite artist was Ray Charles, so he liked my idea of recording the country songs since he lives in Nashville. So we went and we had the great opportunity to see the concert and cover the show. I took photos. I put my review out there.
Yeah.
But it was just such fun. It was just like you couldn't believe all these hits are coming from one person, song after song. There wasn't one song that I didn't know, one song I didn't like. It was every one. And then it was really nice, too, how we would throw in like little snippets in the song. He would throw in some Motown snippets.
He did.
And they would fit in perfectly. Then he threw in Billie Jean by Michael Jackson. And he threw in that song Happy by Pharrell. And it was just a lot of fun. It was a great show. Yes, if anyone has the opportunity, you must go out and check out Felix Cavaliere and the Rascals. So now let's check out these albums here. I have Groovin' by the Young Rascals. And that's so funny. The Greatest Hits was actually put out in 1968. So it was actually right before People Got to Be Free, because I don't think People Have Got to Be Free on here.
No, I don't see it on here.
So awesome album. So now I'm going to smell it and name my favorite song. I'm going with Groovin'.
And I had...
Did you smell it? You can't name.
Oh,
Let me smell that one.
That's pretty heavy. And what did I say my favorite song was?
How Can I Be Sure? No, People Gotta Be Free.
That's it.
Yes,
People
all right.
Gotta Be Free.
So, yes. So, there you have it. That was our interview with greatness, the great Felix Cavaliere. He is a national treasure. All these people are national treasures now. We must enjoy them while we're still around, while everybody's still around, and they're still out there performing. So get out there and see all these people whenever you get a chance.
Yeah.
So that is it, and we're going to wrap this show up now, and we'll see you next week. So now check us out, DennisMojill.com, and watch us everywhere on the radio, on Facebook. Subscribe on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, DennisMojill.com, anywhere, and go to FelixCavaliere.com. Check out his stuff. And that's all there is. We'll see you next week, live from Dennis's house.